Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Woo! Yeah! Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're listening or watching. This is the League After Show at AFTERBUZZ TV, and I am your host, Lauren Leonelli, and here with me is...
George Hermoza.
That's right. Holla. Jen, the Jew, is on Jewish holiday tonight. Lashana Tova, everybody.
I don't know what that means.
It's Rosh Hashanah. I'm Italian. I don't know, but I'm just repeating what she told me. Oh. She will be back next week, but in her place.
I was gonna say I'm Latino. I don't think they have a name for Hanukkah because I've never met a Jewish,
what do you mean?
A Hispanic Jew.
Oh, I'm sure they exist. It's probably just rare.
But I'm just curious now. How do you say Hanukkah in Spanish?
Probably just Hanukkah.
Yeah,
we should look into that. Okay, so everybody, speaking of. You know, actually, that would be a funny thing to bring like a Latino Jew onto the league. I feel like they could do something with that.
Well, technically, I'm fast forwarding.
Oh, wait, Ruxin's wife is like a Latino Jew.
Yeah, I was gonna say something like that just because, but I think they were having issues with that. But I guess maybe Rafi, since he's related to what's her face, Sophia, they're Hispanic. So maybe he was on the verge of converting to Judaism, dating back to last season.
Both of them. Which
does kind of tie into today's episode.
What happened today, because they kind of went back in time.
Yeah.
And this, by the way, is episode 4 of season 6. So, and it was called When Rafi Met Randy. So it was actually kind of cool to go back in time and see how their friendship came about.
It's funny because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really a big fan of Rafi and Dirty Randy. They're just so grotesque, and that means a lot coming from me because
really?
I'm pretty bad myself. But I was kind of curious on how they kind of came about, and this episode kind of answered all that questions.
Well,
but now I like them now.
How it started? You like how it started? Let's talk about that.
Well, it was a flashback to last season's episode where you kind of had a similar situation where you had kind of like a spin-off kind of thing. Kind of a forsoker. So I forgot his full name. Jorma Tacone, I think his name is.
I don't know, yeah.
Well, there was one episode last season where it starts off by him getting killed off by 2 bodyguards or 2 henchmen.
Yes.
And then they go off and I can't remember if it was Rafi or Dirty Randy saying, "Oh no, Spaz got killed. Now we need to go."
Spazinelli.
Yeah, now we need to go avenge him. They go to Los Angeles and then, you know, but like I said, the whole thing was, the episode was dedicated to Dirty Randy and Rafi. Right,
and how they met. And Spaz came into it later, but we find out that Randy was on some scaffolding, pushed his friend off Randall. Pushed his friend off on accident, fell on Raphael's
beautiful family.
Wife
I mean,
and 2 kids.
You got to think, anybody who's a fan of the show, and I'm sure you've seen this already, so a lot of people that are probably listening to probably already watched the episode.
Yes.
At least for me, and I know you, just by your reaction, Rafi is not the same guy without the beard.
Totally
So
different.
Watching the beginning of the episode with Rafi and his family,
his
we're like,
clean-cut self.
No way. That can't be Rafi.
It was funny. And it was funny to see him look so different. And then, of course, they make light of like a very serious situation, but we see his poor family
literally get crushed.
Get splattered. And then we cut to the insane asylum. Right,
but I think they quit. I think they made it as 11 years ago. So
that's right.
This was a while
11
ago.
years prior to the shooting incident, correct?
Yeah.
So we're in this mental institution, and I said insane asylum. Is that even a real term? I don't think it is.
Honestly, I'm with you. I would have called it the same. I was ready to call it an insane asylum, but
well, whatever they call those places.
Let's just say mental institution.
Yeah, mental institution sounds a little more PC. Although we clearly aren't very PC on the show. Why am I looking? Oh, hi. Here I am. Okay, so I really liked... Okay, so we kind of know where it's going. They both get in there. They meet at like the nurses' station, and they're kind of like, you go, okay, so clearly they both met here, and they're both in there because they're traumatized by this tragic event.
But remind just a quick, Rafi doesn't know that it was Randy.
Oh, they don't know yet.
Yeah, they don't know yet.
They don't know how they're both in there. They discover this, like, you know, moments later in the episode. But this is when we're first introduced to Nurse Pam, who I thought was, like, one of the highlights of the episode.
Yeah,
I loved Yorma's character, Spaz, but I loved Nurse Pam because she was so everything that she was doing some pretty crazy stuff, but it was so blasé. And I liked the way she delivered her lines, just very like matter of fact.
Very
like,
stoic.
Shock him. No, don't shock. Oh, no, just shock him. Who cares? Like it was, yeah, stoic is a really good word. She was hilarious. So now we see that this woman is basically in charge of all of the patients there. And she is directing this meeting, and this is where they figure out when they're telling their story as to why they're here in this institution.
It's funny because initially they were pretty normal. Like, you know, Clean Randall is what they called him in the beginning. Right. Was just kind of sitting there, Rafi, you know, just sitting, Raphael, I'm sorry, just sitting there, talking fine. Yeah, shock him. Why? We're not doing anything. I don't care. Shock him.
Exactly.
But why are you yelling? They're sitting down. Like, what? Why are you yelling? We're not yelling. I'm not yelling. Hey, sit down.
Yes.
Like, oh, you know what? To the shock.
It was funny that she, like, was, again, so blasé and just kind of like, I wonder if it was like their own, I mean, this is more of a like, these episodes clearly, and the writing on the show is not very deep, but I wonder if it was an underlying, like, comment socially on, you know, these types of treatments and whoever the writers are behind it, like what they think about them and if they're effective or not. I mean, that's probably like an underlying thing because everything's made light of, obviously.
Especially on the show.
Especially on the show. But
especially on this episode.
And yeah, with all of the like crazy stuff they were this subject matter. So we see that Nurse Pam just starts, you know, again, they're clean Randy and Raphael, which we see then when they start getting this shock therapy that it's changing their personalities, but they are enjoying it.
They love it.
They're shocking each other. They're holding on to each other. They're like, we're brothers. And they're in a room full of a couple other patients, if you will. And my favorite part was when Greg, we shall say, appeared. But when Greg came in the room, and when we talk at the end of the episode about or at the end of our wrap up about our favorite quotes, I'll tell you what my favorite quote was. It has to do with Greg. But he was funny. He came in. They're devising a plan to get out of the institution. And it felt very like Little Orphan Annie to me. Did it not? Like the music, and they're like, let's go.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know why. Like, going back to the episode or to the quote, one of them was the whole, oh, we're like the Goonies. We're like the adult Goonies, the grown-up Goonies. Just because I think every little group of friends had that moment.
Totally.
Had that moment, especially somebody who, you know, grew up in the 80s or 90s. Unfortunately, I was talking to some like 20-year-old and they didn't know what the Goonies was, and I wanted to punch them in the face.
Don't you hate when that happens?
Jesus Christ.
Like,
it's not even...
Look, I wasn't born in, you know, I was born in the 80s, and I know movies that are classic from the past that are, you know, clearly before my time. How do you not know what the Goonies are?
And it's funny, going off topic now, it's not even the fact that they don't know the Goonies, but I think it is a parent's responsibility to at least tell them about the Goonies.
100%.
It's like, what are you doing? What are you watching instead?
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, there are plenty of good movies now, but you cannot ignore the classics.
Exactly.
And Goonies is one of them.
So yeah, so when they were kind of talking about that kind of made me chuckle, but also maybe like a good feeling, like, wow, I haven't had that moment in a while. And it kind of made me want to be in that situation as far as
part of a team.
Exactly. Part of like a
devising
a
scheme. A plan.
Exactly.
Yeah, a little scheme.
So yeah, I thought that was cool.
But I like the way that I love that. And I think that is true. Like, everyone can relate. And we grew up watching movies where that was all the time that was happening. Like, again, that it reminded me, Goonies, of course, they were bringing that, you know, into the whole thing, like calling themselves like, we're like the Goonies. But I thought it felt very, they were poking fun at that kind of a movie, which like Little Orphan Annie, which was very like, okay, let's sneak around the corner, open the door, and like the nurse, then they close the door, and then Nurse Pam would look right when they like got out of the shot. It was just funny how they made it so hokey and like the music was really hokey. So then they're devising this plan, and Yorma's character Spazanelli, orderly Spazanelli, decides he wants to be in on it too. The only thing they need to get out of this hospital at this point, they've got this whole like, we're going to exit this way, is the door code.
Speaking of which, though, I like the fact that every time they were planning something, it was always in these odd situations.
Totally. Like they were holding the maps on the toilet, and everyone was in there with them.
Well, just the way it was shot. It's like, so initially it was, the camera was on Rafi, you know, just, you can tell he's on the toilet. Then the next shot is, he's sitting next to Seth Rogen, or it's a Dirty Randy doing the same thing on the toilet. Then the next shot is everybody right in front of him, pretty much talking about the scheme while they're on the toilet.
It was funny. They just totally like, it was like they were one. They didn't care where they were, what they were doing. They all just were, you know, part of each other's teams. And in this, you just reminded me, we did discover why he called himself Dirty Randy, and Raphael changed to Rafi because during the electroshock therapy, they decided they were these new people. And so then you got to see now in that moment who they are in the present day. Because when we first saw them, like we said, they looked different and they were completely different people. So finally, Spaz walks in and gives them the door code. This was one of my favorite scenes, and I'll tell you why. Because you know when you're like in the car and you're sitting next to a friend and you can't write something down, so you're like, ooh, okay, George, okay, get this number, 455. Okay, you got 55, right? 3232. Okay, 455. Okay, 3232. And then you're repeating it to yourself, 3232, until you can get to the phone to dial the number.
All the time.
They were given this number, 4535, and then nobody could remember it a second later. They went all around the group. They're like, pound, hashtag pound.
But you know who remembered? Greg.
The black guy with the really good idea. He remembered, and it was pretty magical. So of course, they get to the final moment. They're about to get out, and they get caught. And the funny part of all of that is that we find out that Randy was there. Oh, well, Nurse Pam comes in, of course, and is giving them their punishment for trying to escape and wreaking havoc. And William obviously had, you know, the one with the lunchbox had, you know, sacrificed himself for the group by running out there naked to distract them. They all get caught, and they can't get out of the door in time, and Nurse Pam comes and says, you two are getting lobotomized tomorrow. And then Randy's like, I know how to get out of this. I'm here voluntarily, so I'm just going to check out. And we cut to, of course, you know, their sad goodbye. They tell each other they love each other. And thank God, Dirty Randy comes back the next day, Evel Knievel style, right before the lobotomy, the nasal lobotomy is about to happen.
First through the ear first.
First through the ear. And she said she could do it anally, which that perked Randy up right away. I mean, Rafi right away. And, you know, and it was like the easiest escape ever. He literally like floated up on his motorcycle, like Evel Knievel style, I said, and just grabbed him and took him out of the window.
I was just expecting like a huge scene, just motorcycle through the building,
right?
Just the music playing, but no, just right up there.
Oh, I mean, I think that was them poking fun at the idea of these movies and like how that really. I mean, I don't remember how exactly it happened, and I keep bringing this up, Little Orphan Annie. I mean, I think I think they just walked out the door or something. Like it was like, you know, it's like it's not really that hard at the end of the day. Anyway. I think again that was, you know, poking fun at those little scheme type 80s films. At least to me, that's how it came off. So they go back to present day, and we see this. I mean, you and I were both when we see this wedding scene. Ruxin's sister runs in.
Well, first it was like the flashback to the present time, and it went back to that one episode of last season where they were having a shoot off.
Oh, that's right. Well, yes, that's how the episode started off, right?
Yeah, and then that's what it started off, and then that's how the present. Well, I say present, and you'll see why I see present in quotations in a second.
Well, they go back to the shooting scene, and Ruxin's sister comes in and saves Rafi, and then they get married like right then and there on the spot.
Then you see the whole cast,
and
Andre,
everyone's there,
except for Ruxin.
Well, he wasn't invited. They
that's true.
They're like, "Where's Ruxin?" He wasn't invited, because he clearly didn't like that was going on. So, and then we realize, well, that was just a dream. Which, because the whole time we're going, what is happening? I mean, these episodes get pretty hokey, but that was like taking it. We both went, and then the real ending was that Rafi and Randy kissed they thought it looked like mouth to mouth, but it was really the true kiss of love. And it wasn't just in my take, it wasn't like a homosexual thing. It was like their love for their brotherly love for each other.
Because they've been through a lot.
Yeah, they have. Tender moments on the league, everybody. Tender moments. And so didn't he say something like, at one of the times where they were separating, there was like a couple of times during this episode where Rafi and Randy would like get ripped apart and then pulled back together again. One of them, he said, it was when he took him out of the lobotomy, when Randy was taking him out of the lobotomy. He says to Rafi, "Can you ever forgive me for what I did to your family?" And
because eventually he confessed that it was him that.
Yeah, he told him, and he goes, "What family?" And he goes, "I like that." Like, what? Like, oh, just forget about that. Again, poking fun at something very serious, which is totally what this show does, and that's why the writing's so funny, I think. So Rafi's not actually dead now at the end of the episode. He gets brought back to life, except for the gunshot at the end when it went to black. What did you...
He just kind of, I took it as he's probably not going to die. It's just another shot. But I don't think they literally killed him off. I think he'll be back.
Yeah, clearly he's bulletproof.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And I like when they do this on the league because it just gives you a little bit of a taste of, I mean, of course they're very creative with every episode in their writing and stuff, but it's usually focusing on this fantasy football league. And I like this side story.
You think so? You like that?
I do. I mean, I like this one the best out of all the Dirty Randy and Rafi stuff.
I agree.
This is the best one.
I was going to say earlier too, where like, I know I started off the episode and saying, I wasn't really a big fan of these characters. They're just too over the top. But I kind of like this episode because now I kind of like them a little bit more.
Because it makes sense.
Because I know the backstory now.
Totally. Now you're understanding why they act the way they act. And I wonder if, I'm going to venture to say that, because Rafi's character, Jason Mantzoukas, and Seth Rogen wrote this episode. And they always write the Dirty Randy, Rafi episodes. And I'm going to venture to say that it was written in real time, meaning like they wrote all those episodes leading up to this and then decided to go, let's go back in time and tell the story. Like, this didn't happen first. This wasn't the beginning of their story. Like, these guys are acting this way because of this. Like, they went back and did that.
That makes sense. I think Seth Rogen's a brilliant writer.
Oh, so funny. And I like watching them too because the whole show does feel very improv, like heavy, but especially when you're watching Seth Rogen and Jason Mantzoukas, it feels very heavily improv. And Yorma is
I love that. I love that when it acts like that. I love that when it feels like it's so spontaneous.
Totally.
That's one of my favorite things. And when it comes to whether it's anything, this or sketch comedy or anything.
Well, these guys are all, I mean, like I said, like Yorma, that's his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
He's Saturday Night Live. Part of the
Lonely Island.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just fun to see people obviously excel at something they're really good at. And I also enjoy watching this type of humor. So I was happy with this episode and pleasantly surprised because I was not sure how I was going to feel about it.
Me too. I'll be honest with you. When I saw the name of the episode a week ago,
when Rafi met Randy,
I was just kind of like, oh, it's going to be another one of those episodes. But I'm happy that this.
Me too.
Like I said, I like them now. I kind of look forward to the next time.
I actually do too, and I wasn't looking forward to it. So I'm really glad that they decided to do this.
And I like the fact that they still had people at the end, except for Ruxin because he wasn't invited.
Right.
But just kind of like
they brought the cast back in real quick to be happy at the wedding and then the whatever it was, a fake wedding.
Even little things. It looks like Kevin was the best man.
Oh yeah.
Enter Randy is like, hey man, relax. He's like, whoa, thank God, because I did not want this show to begin with.
It was so funny. I love that little taste of them too, because of course that's why we're watching the show. We love all of them, and so you got to tie it back in somehow. What was your favorite quote?
I'm afraid to say it because I feel like it's going to be yours. So do you want to go first?
That's very gentlemanly of you to let me go first, but it was Greg's line.
Intro?
When they said, who are you or where'd you come from? And he's like, I'm the black guy who has a lot of good ideas and just wants to be part of the gang. So it was because it just confirmed to me, first of all, it was hilarious, and it confirmed to me that they were poking fun at these type of schemy movies like we talked about. Was that your favorite?
Absolutely.
Because obviously it was the best.
But I don't even think we mentioned it, the fact that he was nothing but a figment of Rafi's imagination.
We did. We need to go back. He was a figment. We're just going to go back in time like they did in the episode.
We're just going to wing it. So as they're breaking out, of course they're like, oh, what's the code? What's the code? What's the code? Oh, no. Greg knows. Who's Greg? Greg, the black guy. No, I don't see. Oh, Greg right there. I was like, I don't see anyone.
And then he disappeared into thin air. He was just a mirage. Except for he did appear back at the wedding, which
that's true.
That should have told us that it was a dream.
Yeah, that's true.
That was like the moment in what was the Bruce Willis movie?
The Sixth Sense?
Yeah. That was like
Why, what happened?
What do you mean? You don't know that movie? Where he's been dead the whole time? And the little boy.
I just started watching that movie the
Stop
other day.
it.
And then I had to come here because I had the show.
That is so not the case. But it was like, and pens are flying. It's anarchy in here. Anyway, it was like one of those moments where you're like, looking back on it, it was a genius little tidbit from the writing crew. Anyway, okay, so we both had the same favorite quote. We are happy with the episode, pleasantly surprised. I say high five up in this house. Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's Dirty Randy.
They always miss. I miss a lot when I do
think you blinked, but I remember there was one part, and if you think about it, this one might make a little bit sense, because there was one part in the episode where Greg, the black guy, was like, here, why don't you do a slow high five? Oh, yeah. And he grabbed it, and they still went really slow, and they still missed.
They still missed, and then he helped them make contact. That's what he was there for. He was just a
Greg, the black guy. Great ideas.
Great ideas, and just wants to be part of the gang. I know how you feel, Greg. Okay, so we don't. Oh, we have a little bit of news and gossip. Should we get into some news and gossip?
A little bit. I mean, I was.
We have a touch.
AfterBuzz TV.
It's not so much news, but more of a revelation. So during the episode, we were watching. Damn, that Nurse Pam looks so familiar.
So familiar.
But apparently she didn't, because apparently she's not the person that we thought she was.
We thought she was the girl from Scrubs,
which was the girl from Roseanne.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong; they do look alike.
They
so
look alike.
I don't want to act like they don't look.
I don't think Yeah.
But
I can see why we'd be mistaken, but we did some digging and George discovered.
Mm-hmm. So I was Googling, and then under spouse, it had Paul Scheer, who plays Andre Nozick on The League.
Andre.
Go, Andre.
Holla. And we've got another husband and wife couple that I'm sure all of you fans know about, which is Jenny and Pete. Yeah. Even though Jenny is paired up with someone else, and I just like how they seem like they're all friends, and they bring people on like that, and they, Seth Rogen and Yorma and people from the past, and it just makes it that much more fun to watch. But yeah, so if you guys were all wondering at home, your news is that Nurse Pam is married to Andre. God, what a funny household that must be, right? Ugh, too much fun. Those Christmas parties must be out of hand.
Is Nick Kroll married to anyone in general, or
no? Nick Kroll is dating, I think, Amy Poehler. Last I heard.
That's a funny household.
That could be. That's another funny one. That could not be true anymore, but the last I looked, that was the case.
I hope
we will update you next week.
If it's not true, I hope you didn't really start something. Now everybody's going to come.
I know,
Lauren
right?
from AfterBuzz said that Nick Kroll is dating Amy Poehler.
They were seen together, and there was hype about it, but they might not be anymore. But I hope they are, because they'd be funny duo.
Be funny.
All right. Well, let's move into predictions.
I had on my notes, but then you spoiled Sixth Sense for me, so I threw it away.
Oh, please.
Wait, hold on. I gotta wait.
Oh, wow. Oh, yes. Thank you, Josh. Oh, our engineer Josh just saved the day.
What?
Your predictions. Okay, well, since you've got this crumbled up piece of paper that, I don't want to be anticlimactic here. Go ahead.
Well, look at that. I don't have any.
You don't have any predictions?
Yeah, well, I'm just going to wing it.
Wing it.
I predict that next week, I think Taco's going to incorporate some of his taco core money into something. He's going to use...
Okay.
We're not just going to completely ignore the fact that he's technically a millionaire now.
Right, because he got the $1 million from...
Mark from Cuba.
Mark from Cuba. And he is going to do something with it. Didn't we talk about that? We thought, I predicted that he was going to buy the house at the end of the season. The house that, what's his name left? Ted. I feel like this next episode, I hope, is Ruxin heavy, because he was kind of missing in the episode before, and not at all in this episode, even though the main cast wasn't really that involved. So I feel like it's going to be more centered around Ruxin and maybe his wife, because she kind of comes in here and there.
I agree.
So let's say it's going to be more centered around them.
I think we'll see Russell a little bit more too.
Oh yeah,
because he's in the league, but he's kind of there but not there. Kind of like how they do with what's the guy's name that they all hate? The body, Gibbiotti. Oh, Frank Gibbiotti.
Oh yeah.
How he kind of comes and goes, and they all, he's always there to make fun of him.
Right. They're in the wings, just waiting to be used. So yeah, that would be good too if he came back in.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's our show for this evening. I, again, was really happy with Dirty Randy and Rafi.
I
and
agree.
I think you were
I agree.
too.
I really liked that. I was pleasantly surprised.
I was as well.
With how much I enjoyed this episode.
I was as well. So thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're listening or watching here at AfterBuzz TV. And we hope to see you guys next week for the next episode of The League. But until then, if you would like to find us on social media or on iTunes, please feel free to rate and comment, tell a friend. It keeps the lights on here for us at AfterBuzz TV, and we like to hear what we're doing good, bad, any input. But if you would like to find your hosts here on social media, you can find me at Lauren Leonelli on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Vine, and my website. I keep it easy, just my name.
She's got some pretty good Instagram pictures, I got to tell you that. I am on G Hermoza, Twitter, Instagram. Pretty much it.
Follow us, like us, let us know what you're thinking. And we will see you guys next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.